yes, we're live.
I may hear the sound of the tambourino, talking drums and shakera combination. I see people under the tambourino, dancing like if there is a celebration. I'm the only one at home. All I want to do now is dance the wombo lumbo. So I lock up and keep Kokorola Bekondo.
We are live. That's Yemi Alade and Angela Kijo right there. They talk wombo lumbo. Wombo lumbo. Hey Ziva, the diva girl, how you doing? Hey Suzanne, how you doing? Welcome everyone. I'm super excited about this conversation with Dr. Yewande today. Thank you for coming on board, guys. Really appreciate it. Susan Osakwe. I wish I can do that, but you know. Ego, how are you doing today? Thank you.
I see people under the tambourino.
Okay, how to start that all over again? Let me hit Yewande up to come on so we can get the conversation up and running.
I see people under the tambourino, dancing like if there is a celebration.
I'm fine, thank you, Susan. I'm splendid. Thank you for asking. Oh, Temi Sola, I see you. Thank you for joining.
So I lock up and keep Kokorola Bekondo. I can't tell where do they have you? Oh yeah, come see small picking at the Arubo de Dan Bolombo.
Susan, I would love to have a conversation with you, but we're talking with Yewande Austin today. You know what, guys? Next week Friday is going to be my birthday. So I'm still thinking of what we should do. Maybe we should just have a you and I chat. I'll bring in one person after the other. We just talk about this and that. You ask me any question. What do you all think? You think that's a good idea? Let me show me my emoji there. What do you think about that? We can do that on Friday. It's my birthday, 2nd of April, next week Friday. Moses, Texas, thank you for joining.
So I lock up and keep Kokorola Bekondo. I can't tell where do they have you?
Oh yeah,
come see small picking at the Arubo de Dan Bolombo.
Yewande, we're waiting for you. You need to come on live on Instagram. We're waiting for you, please. Hi. I know, right? I know. This song gets me dancing anytime. Angela Kijo and of course our own wonderful Yemi Alade right there. Thank you, Caesar. Thank you. Okay, Moses. Thank you.
Dance wombo lombo. Wombo lombo. Dance wombo lombo. Wombo dance wombo lombo.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, guys. I'm loving this already. Let's start it from the beginning again. Okay. Na na na.
I hear the sound of a tambourino. Talking drums and shakira combination. I see people under the tambourino.
I hope Yewande is not having technical issues. Yewande, what's going on? Are you on Instagram?
All I want to do now is
get on Instagram. Look up at my my symbol up on the top part of your screen. You see me live. Just click on it and then request to join live. Click on that stuff and then you're joining live. Guys, thank you for being there. Did you see that? Okay, click on it now. Hey, go. How are you doing, girl? Okay, Official Yewande is here now. Good to see you, girl. So you need to request to be in my live video. Let me see what I can do that for you. Okay, now I see you. I see you now. I've seen your request. Yes. Yewande is right there. So I'm gonna cut this call. Thanks everyone for being so patient. Yes. Okay. You have to turn your screen, girlfriend. All I want to do now is dance wombo. So I lock up and keep Kokorola Kondo. Hey! Can't see my picking and see
Okay.
So good to see you here one day. How are you doing?
I am good. I just have to change the camera.
Oh, really?
I have to change the angle of the camera. Sorry.
That's fine. You know, Instagram works differently from Facebook.
Yes, I see.
Now we can see a fan. Where are you?
I am at home. I'm at my home base in Virginia, but I had to switch the angle, or you would be looking at me sideways.
Oh wow! I think we should start by just sharing our condolences with you. Sorry about the passing of your cousin, right? You lost a relative and had to go for the burial, which is why we missed the last show. I do accept our sincere condolences. We want to see your face before we officially introduce you. So I hope that you saw that camera thing very soon. I think I should keep the music going. Looks like I should keep it going until we get us.
Please, be there in just one moment.
How many seconds do you need to fix that? Guys, thank you for being here. Vicky, I see you. Vicky, thank you. Watson, I see you. Watson 54. Dancing again, there is a celebration. All I want to do now is dance. So I lock up and keep Kokorola Kondo. Yewande, you there? See, smoky, can
you hear me okay?
What did you say?
Hear me okay if I leave my earpiece in, or should I take my earpiece out, my Wi-Fi?
Whatever works for you. So long as you can hear us and we can hear you, it's fine. Some people like it with their earpiece, others don't. I'm not using my earpiece.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I have to switch the entire camera setup and it's not working. Oh!
Let's just use what you have. It's fine.
Mm.
I mean, we could see you and you can see us, and that's just good, right? Everyone, what do you think? I'm feeling your vibes too, Moses from Texas. How are you doing? Mamudo, Wale Mamudo, thank you for joining us. Yeah, one day we need to see your beautiful face.
I know. You know, you can survive a pandemic and don't know how to work a camera. Come in.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I see the language culture hub joined. Thank you so much. Awolola, I see you. Thank you so much, headliner. Okay, there you are. There you are. There you are. How are you doing, girl?
I am doing well. I think I'm going to have to hold it. Just keep rolling.
Okay, you look amazing, by the way. Thank you for coming through eventually. Like I said, our condolences, right? You lost someone and had to go for the burial, which is why we couldn't have the show last week. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome from Rose, Dr. Yewande Orstein, our special guest for today. She is an award-winning lecturer. Girl, there are too many things you do. I wonder how you put them together. We'll get to when we ask that question. An award-winning lecturer, activist, a 2017 President Barack Obama Lifetime Achievement Award honoree, a 2015 TED speaker, that's a TED Talk, of course, speaker, and a 2014 CNN Heroes Award nominee. Oh, since 2004, you have been involved in capacity building company from your company, right? The Global Institute for Diversity and Change. You have trained students and professionals alike on how to create inclusive community that promotes diversity, leadership, and social responsibility through a combination of music. By the way, you have to sing for us today, Yewande. Yewande has like a golden voice. Trust me, she has to sing for us when we're done, really. Okay, through a combination of music, education, and a sustainable skill development through a humanitarian organization, www.changerockfoundation.com. That is changerocksfoundation.com. Now you have taught over 250,000 vulnerable youths, human trafficking survivors, former child soldiers, and advocates and educators critical skills that reduce the impact of global poverty. With this work, you've been to about 30 countries, right? 25 of them in Africa, Europe, North and South America. Wow. I'm like, I have to stop. I have to stop here because there's a whole lot more. But ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Yewande Orstein. How are you doing? Let me ask that again.
I'm doing well, Rita. It's so good to see you.
You've been through a lot lately.
Yeah, but haven't we all?
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right?
Last time that I saw you was the first time that I met you was in Morocco.
That was in Marrakesh, right?
Yeah, that was my very last trip to Africa. I have not been back to Africa since then because of the pandemic.
Wow.
But there was a reason that we connected, and I'm so glad that we can continue.
Absolutely, and it was so exciting to see you on with Amina. You know, she's my sister, Queen Amina, and I was like, okay, this world is getting even smaller, right?
It is indeed.
Okay,
I think one of the positive things that have come from the pandemic, and I know that may be difficult for people to be able to digest the concept that we have learned some positive lessons from the pandemic, but that is the world is so very, very small. One. Two, we can still stay connected through technology. I was scheduled to produce programs in 8 African nations before the pandemic. All of that was completely canceled once the pandemic hit. But in a matter of the first 3 months of the pandemic, I reached in 8 new countries in just 3 months through virtual learning. And since then, I've added on another 5 countries and have lined up for another 3 countries on top of that. We've learned that the world is even smaller through technology, and it's allowed us to continue to stay connected like you and I.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yewande, let's get straight into the conversation. One thing I want to get out of the way first off is your roots.
Mm.
You are American.
I'm
You
African
are
American.
you're an African American, yes, and you are Yewande Austin. I know, or at least I found out that you took out time to discover your roots and it brought you to Nigeria.
I
And
did.
your since over the years gotten even traditional titles. Tell us a little about that particular endeavor of yours.
Sure. So I'm very proud of my ancestry. Both of my parents are African American, and through the years, we have traced our roots to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Nigeria. I've always known that I had that connection. My biological father actually named me Yewande. It is my birth name, but it was
Mm.
recommended by my godfather, who's Egyptian. And most people say, well, how is that so? We forget Africa is a vast continent, but my godfather was an architect and he all across Africa. And he seemed to feel that that would be a name for me. And I'm so glad that my parents picked that name for me. I feel like it's become, it's opened a gateway to Africa for me. And no matter
Mm.
where I travel across the continent of Africa, people know Yewande. Yewande? Are
Yeah.
you a Nigerian? They know Yewande. Nigerian roots are strong all across the continent. But since then, I have done a DNA analysis and have confirmed my connection to Nigeria. Over 30% of my ancestry is from Nigeria, Democratic
Wow.
Republic of the Congo, and a series of other African nations and European as well.
Interesting.
So I am what I like to refer to as gumbo. I'm a mix of this and that, but we know the very best of me came from Nigeria.
Perhaps that's what is responsible for the very different, unique characteristics that makes up this wonderful person we refer to as Yewande Austin. Now, let's start off from what inspired you to start this. Now, you are a fantastic singer, you are a lecturer. There's a whole lot of things that you can do with your time, but you pick to spend so much time on charity. We're going to come to leadership issues, which is what we want to discuss. I mean, this is our month, right? It's March, we're talking women in leadership, that's what we'll discuss. But tell me, what inspired you to go into charity? You've worked on so many issues, menstrual hygiene, education, a whole lot of them. What inspired you to go into charity? This is when we tell this network to just behave itself. Because Yewande is booting seriously now. I don't know what is going on. Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. Okay, Joanna is not there right now. I think we might have to wait for her to reconnect and then we get her on back. Network issues there. I don't think it's our network. Is it ours? It's hers. If you can hear me, please let me get a sign so I know that you can still see me. I think I'm still live. So the network issue might be from her end. Hopefully she'll connect back and then we can continue our conversations right there with Yewande Austin. In the meantime, tell me how you're doing. Cloud Danjibo, I see you. Sulei NG, how are you doing? Thank you for joining me today. Okay, we had Yewande Austin on the line. I said earlier that next week Friday it's my birthday, and I'm still thinking of what we should do. Should we have a conversation, just you and I? Okay, signing back on. Okay, thank you. You want to just request again, and then we can get the conversation going. Good to know you're back on. I'm not sure what happened with the network there. Thank you for all the love. I see them coming through. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. I see them coming through. Thank you so much. Okay. You need to send another request, or should I be requesting you? Go live with you one day, Austin. Yeah. Yes, go live. You want Austin? So I've sent you a request to go live. Thank you, Cloud Danjibo. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Okay. So I'm thinking we're just gonna have a. Okay. All right. What's that you want? Is it a book of yours? Oh, great.
Sorry about that, Rita.
It's okay. You have to turn the camera around.
Technology, it brings us together, but we still have to work with it. It's not
We
perfect.
are learning. Everyone is learning right now, and we're getting used to it gradually. It's not easy at all. Trust me. Okay, so before that technical hitch, I was asking, like, what inspired you among so many things that you could have done as a young lady, as a woman? You picked charity and you have poured your heart and resources into this. Why charity?
Yeah. Well, the answer for me is very clear. I definitely grew up in circumstances that would not be considered ideal in the United States. I had a lot of disruptions very early on in my life, from dealing with divorce of parents and abuse and abandonment and a lot of issues that people experience internationally. But I think the big difference in my life is that my mother intervened at a very young age, and she realized that I was struggling with these challenges. And I'll never forget,
Mm,
one day she taught me two lessons that forever changed the rest of my life. One, that I didn't have to be defined by my circumstances, and two, that I could become better because of what I had overcome. I'm going to repeat that one more
mm,
time for the people in the back. One, I did not have to be defined by my circumstances, and two, I could be better because of what I had overcome. And that really became the ethos of the work that I do around the world. It is my deepest honor and privilege to enter into the lives of some of the most vulnerable people on the continent of Africa in what many would consider to be one of the darkest times in their life, but to remind them that their existence is not in vain. And so by teaching them how to think from an asset thought process, right? So often we think from a deficit model, and humanitarian aid has unfortunately served in a disjustice to a lot of people who live in poverty. And that is to teach them how to be dependent on handouts instead of doing what my humanitarian organization does. And that's not give handouts, but give communities a hand up by re-entering them into the financial pipeline. We use a
mm.
program called economic inclusion, so that instead of leaving people who live in poverty outside of the financial pipeline, we're reintegrating them by giving them the critical skills they need to generate revenue while solving some of the biggest socioeconomic issues that impact their communities. And this is the way I was raised, Rita. It's that I'm sorry you don't have a father in your life all the time. I'm sorry that for the first several years of my life, I lived in a closet in my mother's bedroom. I'm sorry you don't have what all of your other friends do, but let's focus on what you do have. That's an asset model of thinking, yeah? And that is what I think has empowered, has created the greatest success with the communities that I've empowered internationally, is to teach them how to leverage the skills, the talents and resources that they do have because of what they've overcome.
Hmm. So pretty much to concentrate on what you have, find how to develop that and make the best of it instead of looking at the things that you do not have, right? I love
That's
that
right.
phrase. Don't give the one you said that you can be better because of what you have overcome. I've written that one down. I mean, like
Good.
it speaks and resonates. It speaks to me pretty much. I can tell you that for free. Now we're going to take time to go through some of the projects you've worked on, but since we want to talk about women in leadership, Yewande, you have occupied several leadership positions in the course of the work that you do as a lecturer, as a charity worker, and so many leadership positions. But tell me, what has been the most significant barrier for you as a woman in a leadership position?
Such a good
Mm,
question, Rita. I would say that my greatest asset in doing this work internationally is being a woman, and my greatest challenge is being a woman. The asset is that so often women are pigeonholed into this space of we're emotional, we think with our hearts, like that's a bad thing. But let me tell you,
mm,
the Pew Research Center conducted a fascinating study in 2017 that indicated that women outperform men in 17 of 19 leadership skills that are critical to
Wow.
success. So we are endowed with a set of skills that, yes, allow us to lead with our heart, to think critically about the decisions that we make. We build connections with other women where men think more analytically. They're strategic thinkers, and we need that. We need our men, but we need our men to help elevate more women into positions of leadership because of the skills and the innate talents that we are born with. We tend to think a little bit more critically. We tend to share. I tell you, the women that I've been conflict survivors in Abuja, Nigeria, in the past 3 years, I've funded 4 businesses that these women have up and running. They have transformed that into 10 businesses. And they
Wow.
now have created an empowerment organization that is empowering 100 other women with the economic skills that they need, I should say with the business skills that they need to be socially and economically independent.
Wow.
Conversely, men, roughly 35% of men will reinvest the revenue that they generate into their families and communities compared to 90% of women. Women are born with the skills that we need to be the change that we want to see. That's the
Wow.
positive side of being a woman in business, is also connecting with other like-minded women like you, who collectively have to be the ones that make these changes, because nobody understands the struggle of a woman better than other women. The challenges,
Wow.
unfortunately, history has demonstrated that women have been put in positions where in some countries they are treated as fourth-class citizens. That means that I enter into some African nations, and the only way that I would get ahead is if I sleep with some of the most powerful men in those countries. Since that's not
That's what
happening,
they expect
and listen, it's an expectation, right? It's a part of the business culture, not only on the continent of Africa, but unfortunately in many countries.
everywhere.
However, some of my African brothers are a little bit more direct. They don't beat around the bush with these things. But since that's not an option for me, that means that very often I have to leave opportunities on the table, period. And that I have to find other creative ways to solve these problems. I think one of my greatest resources in even just developing the community in Abuja, Nigeria, has been working with other women. Why? Again, because we understand the struggles of other women. We understand this is a mentality that we are constantly having to work against, that women are not to be put in positions of service, but partnership. So it's critical that women partner with other women.
Wow. Wow. That is so instructive. When you talk about the fact that there's a perception that for a woman to make a headway, she must, relegate herself to being some form of tool for the man, to pleasure the man. And the more we are able to change that narrative with actions such as what you have just given as example, the better for the younger girls that are coming up, because you need to set a standard as well. Now, have you experienced? I know you have. You work and interface with a lot of women, but in the course of what you do, you also work with men. Tell us
Sure.
about that. Have you experienced resistance? Oh, you can give me instruction because you're a woman or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So very little resistance from men. Generally speaking, in most of the communities I've worked in, there's very little resistance because I don't come in, number one, judging anybody, even though I know that some of the cultural practices are oppressive and create, they just continue to promote the cycle of poverty and conflict. But what I do is I come into communities and give them options. And once they understand the short and long-term impact of some of the choices that they're making, they're better informed to think critically about the better decision for them to make, not only for their families, but their communities and ultimately the countries in which they live. So there is some pushback sometimes on a local level from men, but a lot of this has to do with the hierarchy. the social hierarchy, that if I have men on my team, they will tend to defer to the men on my team instead of looking at me and addressing me. And I will very respectfully but quickly correct them that I'm the one funding the project, I'm the one leading the project, and while your input is critical to the success of this project, I would prefer that you address me. And they will very quickly make the adjustment and forward. I see the same thing happening with the women that I empower on the continent. Women come to me now and they say, he is lazy, he is not contributing the way he should, but that the men within the family structure are beginning to respect the women in their home on a different level. The children and then other members of the community have a different level of respect for the women because that they see that economic inclusion is no longer just a conversation, it works. And if the women are bringing home the money,
yeah, it's not just a conversation, it's actually something that works and we have to embrace it.
That's right.
Okay, so Yewande, recently you got appointed to work with the governor of your state. Tell us about that and what that experience has been like so far.
Yeah, so my appointment has come to an end, but it was a very interesting experience to see how a government not only shapes society, but prepares future girls for leadership positions. I was honored to work in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And I think a lot of people underestimate the critical role that government plays in shaping how we look at ourselves and how we look at each other. One of the most interesting turnabouts that I saw happening in that position was how employers have minimized the abilities of highly qualified men and women that represent ethnic minority groups, but they are undervalued because, let's say, perhaps of their academic achievement, and not understanding that a man or a woman that has an undergraduate degree is just as qualified as someone with higher academic credentials, but because of economic circumstances or even because of racism, they were left out of opportunities to advance themselves academically, but because of their lived experiences, they are equally qualified for these leadership positions. Not only are they qualified, but it's critical that they assume these leadership positions because we must have people with more diverse backgrounds in leadership positions so that they can better represent the diverse population that we serve. So government is critical in creating opportunities for those that otherwise may not have them. But we have to do that at a policy level. So policies must change to open up opportunities, the gateway of opportunity for others.
Wow, absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Guys, thank you all for joining us. I'm still having a conversation with Dr. Yewande Austin. Do feel free to type in a question. If you have any questions for her, I will take one or two of those. So please feel free to type it in the comment section and I would acknowledge them. Now, Yewande, you've worked with girls. So I want you to talk to me specifically before I ask what advice you have for young ladies. There's something I'm passionate about that you also work on, and that is menstrual hygiene. I saw some of your work where you were training girls about how to produce, you're training girls on how to produce reusable sanitary towels, for instance. Talk to me about that project.
Sure. So in 2015, my humanitarian organization was the first in the world to produce emergency education relief programs for Boko Haram conflict survivors, children in Abuja, in the Dorumi IDP camp. For those that don't know IDP, it's internally displaced people. We lost contact, as sometimes happens with populations that I work with internationally. But a couple of years later, I heard from one of the women who assumed a leadership position in that camp, Sadia, who may be listening today. Sadia reached out to me.
Recently, I met her in December.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. What?
Look at that. Yeah, so Sadia is my IDP coordinator. and
Oh.
my right hand in doing this work in Nigeria. So Sadia reached out to me, said that, listen, we're about to be removed from the camp. We need support. And I said, well, if I'm going to get involved in this project, number one, I know we have to do things differently. IDP camps, refugee camps were established by agencies like the United Nations many, many years ago as temporary holding spaces to help
Right.
transition people who live in conflict, but they become long-term dysfunctional solutions. Yeah. And so I said, if we're going to do something, we got to do it differently. And I developed a concept of building a sustainable rehabilitation community that will be called Alheri Village. But as we develop Alheri Village, I wanted to empower the women to build businesses and to also provide them with some training that prepares them to assume leadership positions at Alheri Village. And I gave the women an option of producing traditional businesses that just generate revenue,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
developing entrepreneurships that generate revenue but address social or economic issues within their communities. So the women decided
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to make reusable sanitary napkins. So about 10 versions later, it's taken a long time, 10 versions later, the women have just released these reusable sanitary napkins called Freedom Pads in the IDP
Okay.
camp in the Abuja area. Um, Reusable sanitary napkins change lives. Feminine hygiene products change lives. Many people on the line may not know that when girls reach an age of menstruation, if they don't have the proper supplies to protect themselves, then many drop out of school eventually because they're not welcomed in school or they're ostracized by their families and their communities. And so having the proper supplies allow them to confidently go to school during that time of the month, to clean and wash their pads, dry them in the sun, and reuse them again. More importantly than that, some of the very girls that need these products are learning how to make them also. And so,
Yeah,
it's,
that's what I
yeah,
found really fascinating because in December, when we went to that same camp, during me for an outreach, part of the supplies we gave them was sanitary towels, right?
mhm,
But of course,
mhm,
on the back of my mind, I was thinking, if this has to be sustained, then we need to make a visit every month or at least give them a supply for like 3, 4 months. But when then I found out about what you did, I said that's really thoughtful, and we should talk about doing more of that really one day.
yeah.
Cloud said, thank you for the enlightenment into this issue women currently go through worldwide. And Chief Bennett says we have been asked by people of our own ethnicity to play down our accomplishment. Do you encounter that? People feeling like as a woman you mustn't say you've achieved so much. Have you ever encountered a situation like that?
I apologize, Rita. You froze for a moment.
Oh,
If you could reposition the question one more time, I'm sorry.
okay. Let me see. Who it was a comment from somebody, Chief Apostle Kennedy, right? He said, we
Ah,
have been asked by people of our own ethnicity to play down our accomplishment, especially by women. When you've achieved so much, and they're like, you don't have to say everything,
right.
just play down. How do you handle that? Is it even something you should consider doing?
That's an interesting question. So, no one has ever asked me to play down who I am, but I would say, Chief Apostle, that that is a personal problem for someone else to deal with. If you have accomplishments that you feel are relevant to the role that you are serving in that particular situation, then
Mm,
a lot of people would like to have some understanding of what has positioned you for that role. I don't think we
mm,
have to list everything that it is that we've done, but there's a famous author that once said, I'm going to paraphrase it, that it does the world no justice when you dim your shine. People should know who you are and what you've accomplished because they can then recognize in themselves what's possible.
Let that little light of yours shine. Now, speaking
Right.
about letting your light shine, Yewande, you have worked with so many young girls. So, before we get into the theme of the International Women's Day for March, I call it our month. It's not just a day for me. I know, yes, 8th of March is the main day, but throughout March, I mean, all my shows this month have hosted women, and it was deliberate and intentional, right? What are some of the advice you would share with young women who are getting into leadership position? They're just starting off and they can't get into leadership position, and some of the challenges you face and they might not be aware of it. If you have a group of women, young girls sitting in front of you now, and of course at some point they will get into that position, what advice would you be giving to them? One, two, three, four.
1, 2, 3, 4. All
Oh,
right.
maybe more, but let's
Uh,
as many as you can take.
Right. So, number one, I think it's important for women to understand that you already have all of the skills that you need to be successful. So many of us
Mhm.
think that we need to have the title. We have to have the finances in order to achieve our dreams, and that's just not true. That is a lie that you have been told.
Mm,
And it has been reaffirmed many times throughout society. Don't you believe it? Not for a single minute. Some of the greatest leaders in our world have not only been born into poverty, some, like, my gosh, my biggest role model is Harriet Tubman, were born into servitude. And people like Harriet Tubman had the audacity not only to free themselves, but to free others. So the only slavery, the only limitation that exists is truly in your mind. That's number one. Number one, B of that would be recognize what your superpower is. So every
hmm,
single one of us have been born with a number of talents and skills that we can use to change the world. But what's your
right.
biggest talent? What is your greatest passion? Make sure that you are fueling that passion. By the same token, we have weaknesses because we're humans. So, what's your kryptonite? Identify what that flaw is and do everything that you can to build the muscles that are needed to fight against that flaw, if we shall say, not a
Right.
weakness,
Right.
but a flaw we can improve on. Number two would be align yourself with someone that you look up to. Role models are very important. If you don't have a mentor, find one. A mentor does not have to be the president of your country or the vice president or someone who
Mm-mm.
is in
Mm-mm.
a position of power nationally, but it could be a community leader, especially our elders. In Africa, you have a different relationship with your elders, I think, than we do in the United States. But surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who are older than you, who have experiences that they can um, help pass on to
Mm.
you. Yeah. And number three is don't give up no matter what. I've often said one of the greatest challenges in life is figuring out who you want to be, how to become the person who you were born to be, and last, how to continue to be true to the person you were born to be, even when no one else believes in you. But knowing even those three things does not mean that you will live a life that is not paved with some challenges. The women that I've worked with over the past 3 years in Abuja, Nigeria, there are many times that they could have given up. The first attempt we made in making freedom pads was not successful. The second attempt
Wow.
was not successful. The third,
Wow.
fourth, and fifth attempts were not successful, but we were learning every step of the way.
Are you
We were
serious?
learning what the right design was. We did focus groups and took the pads in the community to get feedback from the girls and women that would use them. We had to test absorbency and failed. We had to test different fabrics and failed. We had girls, unfortunately, that were raped and families that were displaced. And so we had to rebuild the group again. They didn't give up. There were many challenges that they had to overcome to reach the point of success that they are today. So don't give up because the
Wow.
answer to your greatest challenge is right around the corner.
Hmm. Don't give up. Okay. I've written that one down. Don't give up. I love that you talked about role models and mentors, because you really do not have to go through what people ahead of you have gone through. Just learn from, the things they have been through, and that they have just build on that already, and surround
That's right.
yourself with people who are smarter than you and
Yeah.
older than you and more exposed than you are. There's something we say here in Nigeria. I say, follow who know road.
Mm.
Follow who know road. It means simply tag along with people who know how to get things done. You can learn faster and build on their experience, right? Okay, one
Yeah.
day we promised you're going to sing before we go. We
You
did.
got it. You got it.
Okay, great. But before we get there, it's our month, and the theme for Women's Day celebration for 2019 is I Choose to Challenge. So I'm going to
Mm.
ask you that question. Can you tell me some of the things you choose to challenge gender-wise?
Mm. I choose to challenge the number of women that deserve to be in leadership positions.
And I'm not.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the greatest examples of gender parity that I have witnessed in Africa has to be Rwanda. If you have not studied
Yeah.
been to Rwanda, you must go to Rwanda.
We
They
were planning to have African Women Conference in Rwanda, so I don't know, with the pandemic, we'll see what happened this year.
Okay, well, we have to talk because you may recall that I brought a delegation of Americans to Nigeria in 2019, yeah, in
Mm-hmm.
honor of the 400-year commemoration of the first Africans that were enslaved and brought to the United
Right,
States.
right.
Plan, my plan was to have taken another delegation to Rwanda
Okay.
this past year, and I too had to put it off. So maybe we could do a Read a Yewande partnership for Rwanda.
Absolutely.
Rwanda
No,
and
don't forget, African Women Conference, Dr. Juma Amojo, definitely. We'll do a connect. We'll work that one out. Very, very
wonderful,
possible.
wonderful, wonderful. Maybe for 2022. So,
Yeah,
so Rwanda,
absolutely.
Rwanda gets it. For those who don't know about Rwanda, I'm going to give you a 1-minute lesson in Rwanda in gender parity because they get it. 25 years ago, they were in the middle of the greatest civil war that led to almost the death of 1 million people
Genocide.
because of the fight between the Hutus and the Tutsis. Who survived? The greatest number of survivors out of that war were women. Over 70% of survivors were women. And Rwanda recognized we got to do something a little differently. They made education a mandatory requirement, free education for girls, mandatory requirement. They
Wow.
also established a quota that at least 30% of the women in leadership positions in parliament would be
Mm.
women. Now they have over 60% of women in parliament. They have reduced crime, conflict, the rape of women in this country. I forgot to mention that in the same period of time of the genocide, over 250,000 women were raped during that time. They are
Those
still
are the
recovering.
recorded ones. They're even more. I've read gory stories.
Of course, of course. But this is how Rwanda turned it around. By setting up their girls to assume leadership roles as women, Rwanda now has the fourth safest country in Africa for women and the 14th safest country for women in the entire world.
That's
If you want
amazing.
to change society, you must empower women, period. You empower women, you will take your community farther, you will take your families farther, you'll take your country farther.
Wow. 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 So we choose to challenge the number of women in leadership position in Nigeria. Not enough. We're in an abysmal less than 5% women in leadership
In Nigeria,
position. Yes, it
in
is.
Nigeria, okay.
It's abysmal. Less than 5% women in leadership position in Nigeria. So definitely we have a lot of work to do in that area. Absolutely, so much to do. Even though we cannot finish this conversation without, making that song thing. But before we do that, let me just we're going to give out two of this.
Ah, yes.
And how it will work is, I know we have people from both sides of the Atlantic on the show this evening. So if anyone in Nigeria wins it, we send it to them. But if they're out there in America, we can order it on Amazon for them because the book is also available on Amazon. So it's not a problem at all. I really would love for it to go to females, but let's not try to replace patriarchy with matriarchy. We'll let it. We will allow anybody. Oh, Iman.
Freezing up again.
Hey, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, great.
Yes,
I
can
was
hear
freezing
you
up.
So yeah, we're going to give out two of these books before we go. But before we do that, any final thoughts, a message you want to put out there? Tell me about your book, Yewande. How many?
My book, it's still in development. It's still in development, but I'm getting there.
Okay.
I've really finished all of the content. I just have to find the time to edit everything. But The Art of Change is a book that will teach people how to think creatively about how we solve the world's greatest problems. Creative thinking has been the root of all of the work that I have done internationally, whether we are working to promote cultural diversity, gender
Mm-hmm.
equity, economic inclusion, all of these principles around what we call JEDI, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, um, really are deeply connected to creative thinking. And the more we
Right.
can think creatively about how we solve these everyday simple problems, we can prevent them from becoming the complex issues that promote and fuel poverty around the world. And so that's what my book is going to be about, and you'll be the first one to know. I promise.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait. I really cannot wait to read that book. Trust me, I can't wait to lay my hands on a copy. But you know what? You can get an editor you one day. You're so hardworking, you forget sometimes you need to get help. Get an editor. You've written the book anyways. Let someone else edit it. Take it to a first, second, and third editor, and let's get it out there already.
I appreciate the reminder, Rita. See, this is why women have to support women. Only a
Right?
woman said to me, don't do it that way. You can do it better.
Right. Oh, it might be okay. It's okay. It's okay. You're just joining. It's fine. For those of us who have come on and left, the video is going to be live on IG. Before we get the little cutouts to post, we have the full video on IG, so you can always watch it. Post your comments there. Follow Yewande Austin. She's a lot more active on Facebook, I know, but yeah, we need to get her up and moving on Instagram as well. So please do follow her, and if you have any questions, you can inbox them. I would get them across to her, and trust me, and no matter how long it takes, she will definitely respond. She works better with emails, interestingly, but we'll definitely get her to respond to your questions and comments. So yeah, before we get you singing, we need to pick one person. Another sister of ours, Kambili Sadolahima, bought this book for someone to win today. So it's paid for, actually. Yes, it's paid for. I have like 6 books that I'll be giving out on each, every other show, all paid for by family, friends who'll be like, okay, I'm paying for 6 copies. Of course, I don't need more than one, so you can give out the others. So yeah, this one is from Kambili Sadolahima. So you need to pick someone in the chat box.
I have to
Anyone?
pick somebody.
Yes, you have to pick somebody.
Okay.
Pick somebody. Pick somebody.
No pressure at all.
No pressure.
Okay,
No pressure.
I'm going to pick somebody, but with a request. So I see Shadow from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We just worked together in building business models, with Congolese artists. I'm going to pick Shadow, but Shadow, in the name of gender parity, I need to make sure that you give this book to one of the women that we're working with, okay?
Oh. What's the Instagram handle? What's the Instagram handle?
Oh, it just disappeared, and I'm afraid to touch too much on this screen because I don't want to get rid
No,
of
no
you. I
problem. No
promise
problem.
I'll follow up with you and give it to you, okay?
Okay, great. Yeah, so we'll get Shadow will need to inbox me his details so we can order
Stay
on
with me.
Amazon for him.
I found it. Okay, so it's shadow underscore Barazizo,
Oh,
BAR.
oh,
You see it?
I'll find it. Not, I've not seen it yet, but I'm going to have to find it eventually.
Okay. All right,
What
shadow Barazizo.
Shadow? Oh, now I see it. I see it. Shadow
Okay.
underscore Zizo
Mhm. Official.
underscore official. Okay. Shadow, you're going to need to inbox me your details so that we can get your book across to you. You're probably going to be the first one to get it in the Democratic Republic of Congo, so that's amazing.
That's
And you did
great.
promise. You did promise you're going to share it or give it to one of the women that you were working with. And trust me, there's a whole lot of lessons for people to learn. Yewande, you know what team that cuts across this book?
Ah,
It is you can. Something you said earlier, you can, plus you can be better because of what you have overcome.
that's
That
right.
is, I feel, is a thread that goes through this
Mm.
book, Queen Rita, from the rough edges to becoming the queen. It's one thing you find out when you read the book as Shadow. So please do let us get your feedback. So yes, before we go, what are you going to sing for us, Yewande?
What am I going to see? I should have known. I'm
Something hard, something.
Oh, you want something that okay, something like popular. Okay, I
It
can
doesn't have to
sing.
be popular so long as it's our month, so long as you speak to us women. Ima, no pressure. We love you. For all the guys online, we love you. Nothing personal, okay? But I know you
I
understand.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, I'll just sing a little bit of I think you'll know this. 'Cause this girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. She's walking on fire. This girl is on fire. Everybody else sing.
Oh my goodness.
Cause this girl on
Girls
fire.
on fire. Doctor, you and the Austin girl on fire. You had to pick Alicia Keys because you look like her. She looks like you. You get told that a lot, right?
I
They
do.
tell you that a lot, right? Yes, indeed.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much. You are so amazing. Thank you for all the good work you do, for the
Thank you.
lives you touch. Thank you for taking your challenges and turning it around for good. Because people can go through what you've been through as a child and turn out like a million times worse than where they started from because they would blame the
Right.
world and blame everything around them and not take responsibility. So where you are, apart from what your mom was able to do, is you taking responsibility also and saying, I'm going to turn this for good. Thank
Yeah.
you for turning
Thank you
it for good.
much for everything that you do, Rita. And thanks so much for creating this platform and giving us an opportunity to discuss what's critical to empower women from leadership positions. I think that the last thought I'd love to leave women with is to challenge them not to look at the challenge Okay.
Oh, great.
I don't know if
Oh,
you heard me.
I'm
Technology.
so sorry. It's the network right there. You were just about to tell us the final thoughts you want to leave us with
Oh, you
before
did not
that
hear my
happens.
thought.
No,
Okay, my
I'm
final thought.
sorry. Yes, that's where we were before the whole
It's
freezing thing
okay.
came up.
It's all right because we're survivors. Yeah, we're women who are on fire.
Yeah, we are.
You can't stop a fire. At least it's really hard to extinguish a fire. My
Right.
final message was to girls and women in particular who are experiencing challenges right now to challenge yourself in the way that you think about the issues that you're going through right now. You're not being punished. It is not a space that you have to stay in that is permanent. But if you think about those challenges, just preparing you for your next and your greatest step, every day we do have
Mm.
the to think about how we look at every single moment, good and bad, that's put in our path. And so you do have the power to think about your challenges not as preparing you to fail down, but to fail up. You have the power.
Wow.
So we have to work really diligently on shifting that mindset to fail up. And for
Mm.
those of you, my sisters out there who know another sister friend who is overwrought with challenges right now, you have to remind them and hold them accountable too, that they are in a position of power. It may not always seem that way,
Mm.
but ultimately we really are in power to fail up. And it has to be a daily choice, a daily decision that you make to chart
Wow.
the path that you want.
Wow. Yewande, Dr. Yewande Austin, thank you so much. Such powerful
Rita.
nuggets that we would be so happy to share after the show because I mean it doesn't end here. This is having a conversation and we're going to just leave it out there on IG Live for people to come up and watch it whenever they want to and keep the message going. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Rita. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you. Okay, so guys, everyone, I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Yewande Austin. And congratulations, Shadow. Shadow, congratulations on winning the book. Yes, share your details. You need to inbox me. Send your details to my inbox, and then I would get the book across to you. Yes, Ben was here. I mean, like, thank you guys. You know, people kept coming in and going off, coming in and going off, and the network didn't help matters. But like you said, we are survivors, and so we get it going. Um,
That's it.
and by the way, that is Angela Kijo and Yemi Alade right there with Sheker. I love that song. I absolutely love it. It gets me dancing anytime, any day. Okay, guys, it's been a great show. So bye bye. We'll be back next week,
Rita.
Friday.
Bye.
It's my birthday on Friday next week. So yeah. We should do something special. I'm thinking about it. We should do something special next week. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you. Au revoir. I'm going to share this video. Do me a favor. Post your comments there. Tag a friend, tag a friend, tag a friend, and tag another friend. Right. Right. And the video.